Welcome everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Mind the Music. And today I will be talking with Natalie from the House Gospel Choir. And Natalie is a vocalist, a songwriter, a producer, and for the past 7 years, a founder and creative director of the mighty House Gospel Choir. And today she will share experiences and advice for women and female identifying people of color on how to cope with double standards in dance music. So welcome, Natalie. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Elaine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm just really first and foremost, before we dive in, I'm just really so happy that you want to join this conversation. I've never had a conversation like this before. I mean, not publicly, not for radio or just, publicly. So I just really want to tell you how much I appreciate you for wanting to join and for wanting to share. And just, thank you so much for doing this and for making yourself available for this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So how about we start with just an introduction? Tell me a little bit more about you. Who is Natalie?
Oh gosh, I am a girl from Brixton in South London. If anyone knows about Brixton, it's kind of one of the most densely populated areas, where a lot of Black people and especially Caribbeans and Afro-Caribbeans came and settled here after World War II, after the call to the Commonwealth for their citizens to come and settle here. So my grandparents came and soon sent for my mum. And so, I'm second generation British born Jamaican. And I love music. I think that's the starting point of all of this. I love music. And I absolutely love people and meeting new people and getting closer to old friends. So, that's kind of my motivation, I love singing, I love raving, and any opportunity I can get to do those things and use all of my skills, then I'm up for it. So,
Awesome. Sounds so good. And so can you tell me a little bit more about how you've come to be the founder and creative director of the House Gospel Choir?
It was just this calling. It was just a vision I had of some of my favorite nights out and just wanting to experience that a bit more. I'd always wanted to work in music, and I started off as a songwriter and a singer and doing spoken word and poetry and stuff. But I kind of fell out of love with it really quickly because I don't think I have, and this is not in a bad way, I don't think I have enough ego to just want to keep pushing myself as a solo artist, and that didn't resonate with me, but the music did, and getting to understand the business a bit more did. So I went into music education and events management, and ended up doing tour managing. And the more I worked in music, the less I got to enjoy it. I'll just be honest, I was doing lots of really cool tours with jazz musicians and big ensembles and things. I was just when am I gonna really just enjoy this again? So I very fortunately I sent a Facebook message to this producer I really liked called Bopstar at the time, and I just said, if you need any vocalists for anything, I'd love to be on your records. He had this tune called Captured with an amazing jazz singer here called Zara McFarlane.
Oh yeah, I know her.
Wicked tune. And I was just I want to work with this guy. And we made this song called Selfish Skies that did really, really well in South Africa. And I got to do this mini tour there in 2011. And I was just this is what I'd been missing. And it was always about collaborating and being with other people. And so even though I was singing by myself on the record, it wasn't just me pushing it, promoting it, spending all my money on the studio, everything that goes along with really trying to push a solo career. And just being there and being in SA and the way they rave there, the way they love the music, I just was this is it. I want to go home and feel like this more. So that's essentially what I did. When I got back, I called a few of my friends that I'd sung with in the past and asked them if they'd be up for it. And they said yes. And there was about 12 of us in this first rehearsal.
And this was 7 years ago, right?
This is 7 years ago, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then because of where I'd been tour managing, I was asked if I knew any choirs that would perform at Glastonbury. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, I think I know a choir. I think I know a choir, but they do house music. Is that all right? Like specifically house music. And they were like, yeah, but it's traditionally a gospel slot. And I was like, well, the sound is very gospel. It's a very gospel approach to singing these records. So our first gig was Glastonbury, and we had
God, that's amazing.
12 weeks to pull this show together.
Oof.
And we managed to do it, and we've just been going ever since. So a bit audacious, a bit brave, a little bit of twisting the truth slightly. I think we'd only had one rehearsal at that point, and and it worked. It just worked. So
that is such a great story. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love it. And so how many people are you now? Because you said you started out with 12. So how many are you now?
So altogether in like the choir as a performing act is about 25 people. And every year I train up to 25 more people to kind of like a professional level to be able to perform the show. Because it's quite an intense thing it's the show is essentially a live DJ set, right? So it's a 90-minute show of jumping around while singing.
Wow, that's really intense.
It's really intense. So it takes a lot of work to be good enough to do that. So there is like a professional level or semi-professional group of vocalists that do this. But our wider community is probably about 150 people.
Wow.
Beyond that, we do this thing once a month. Well, we haven't been able to do it since February because of the old COVID. But we do this thing called Mass, which is called Mass Choir in the space we rehearse in Shoreditch. And you can buy a ticket and just come and be part of the choir once a month. And it's wicked. It's in the club space. So you're singing like your favorite house songs in tune. And it doesn't matter if you're not great, because it's that feeling of, you know, being in the club, the lights are low, you've got a drink, you're not feeling like everyone's looking at you, you're not performing necessarily, but you're part of this experience. So I'd say, I mean, over the year we've been running that, we've had about 1,000 guests pass through there.
God. I can imagine that must really appeal to so many people, because I remember you shared something with me before we had this talk about how, you know, if we all, let me just quickly, because I want to say it right. We can't all speak at the same time and have our voices heard, but we can sing together as one voice and be understood.
Definitely.
So I feel like when people come to such an event, it feels like that for them, because they feel understood.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I really think so. It's one of it, you know, that there's obviously lots more proof coming out about why singing and dancing together is good for you on a mental health perspective and on the physical, you know, and not just for the joy of raving, but also just like even, you know, psychologically what it does for you. And I you know, I can kind of testify to that, because I lost my mum a year after I started House Gospel Choir.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And it was a really hard time, and I pretty much just kind of shut down doing everything, but I still went to rehearsals on a Monday night. And there was something really powerful about sitting next to someone else and singing the same harmony as them and seeing how that fit into the whole song. And so it's like I had a place, even though I felt like this real disconnection to everything that I knew to be true up until that point, because I didn't have my anchor anymore. Singing in that way was just like, oh, I fit in somewhere. I have a home. I have a, you know, I can be part of something, and I can add to making this thing better. And so it's really, really healing in a way.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Yeah, I think that's the thing that drew me to the dance music community in the first place, like kind of finding a place to escape to, but also to belong to, because, you know, that's one of the basic human needs. We want to belong, and we want to feel loved, and that's what you look for in a community, right?
Totally. Totally spot on.
Beautiful. So I want to talk of, that's the topic of today, is double standards in dance music, but specifically for Black women and women or female identifying persons of color. because I think when we talk about double standards in dance music or just in general, I feel like we're always automatically talking about discrimination based on gender. And I feel like we don't talk enough about the discrimination based on race. And then also I want to dive a bit deeper into that, like even based on colorism, like how, you know, what the tone of your skin is actually determining in terms of what your success will be in dance music. That's something that I want to touch upon as well. But so firstly, let's, like, first things first, I would love to hear from you in a way that feels comfortable for you, of course. If, you know, you want to share any experiences around double standards that you have seen or that you have experienced yourself in dance music so far.
Well, I think that the double standard kind of starts with the fact that I love house music and I love dance music, but I always knew the name of the producer and the DJ, and never the vocalist, who actually, essentially, that's who I was kind of that's what attracted me. The beat, yes. The bass line, yes. I love bass lines. I live for that rumble in a speaker. But that voice, that moment in a song, which like just takes you somewhere. And I just always struggled to find out who is singing this record, and then you'd find the name maybe, but then there was no press on that artist, or there was no, and it's just like, how can someone, it's clearly that person's gift, a bit of their soul on this record that is moving us, but they get no recognition in that. And I think as much as, because house music in particular, it has a tradition of using these amazing Black female, specifically American voices, and from the gospel canon, it was just the fact that you could very rarely find out who that was, and that bothered me. So when we first started doing the sets, I really researched that. I wanted to know who Barbara Tucker was. I wanted to know who Lolita Holloway was. I wanted to know who Martha Wash was. I wanted to know who, you know, like I wanted to know more about Crystal Waters. Like, Gypsy Woman is one of the biggest records of all time, and even though her name was on the record, you have no idea that that Crystal Waters and Ultra Nate are also producers and songwriters, and these are, you know, so it's just like the amount of people that contribute to making a record great, making some of my favorite songs amazing, were just kind of left off the credits in a way. And I always thought it was odd that you get these amazing, and let's just take nothing away from the producer or the DJ, but they're touring the world, and I can see them in New York or Ibiza or London, but I never see the person singing. And that was odd to me, because I always grew up loving the vocalist, you know. So that in itself was something I really felt keen to rectify. So when we first started doing the shows, we made a point of saying the person's name, you know, talking about what year the song came out, which so many people don't. And I don't know why in house music it is that way, because it's not that way for any other genre. Like,
I was going to ask you that. Why do you think that is? Because I mean,
I think it's like there's something. I mean, it's commercial, isn't it? It's about money. It comes down to money, and I think the practicalities of touring, actually, you can maximize your profit if you've just got a DJ. Whereas like bringing a full band on tour is a very different consideration. Bringing the vocalist on tour. No, I'm just saying from that perspective. So like even at its introduction, it's just like this. If this is something that you can pack away and just transport around the world in a very easy way, and that would be fine if you talked about what it was you were transporting around the world, but you don't. You just kind of turn up and open your CD box and act like everything in it comes from you, and it's just not true, is it? It's just not honest.
And to not even be mentioned in the first place in many cases, like as you just said, you look up these tracks and you're like, wait, who is the singer, and where can I find her name? Like, you know. And
also the songwriters, because a lot of the time, especially in house music, and I know this, I started going to studios when I was about 14, like just friends of friends. Oh, my friend can sing, can she come and sing on this record or whatever? And it was cool, it was fun, it was exciting, but I was turning up and making up songs, you know, turning up and coming up with ideas, and the lyrics and the melodies were mine. They weren't, and then, you know, on more than one occasion, I heard that song on the radio, or I heard it somewhere else, and it just didn't. You just never hear anything else about it. And being that age, it took me a long time to kind of be able to call the producer back and be like, what happened with that record, or is it ever coming out? Yeah, I've just had some really dodgy situations like that, you know. But there's just this real sense that once a singer's done their bit, there's just no more conversation to be had, and it's just wrong. You know, it's just wrong. So we've tried our best to remedy some of that. I'm not a massive one for like talking. I'm like quite practical, so I identify a problem and then get on with solving it. Like I think that there are people doing amazing work highlighting the issues and talking about it, and from time to time I do engage in the conversation, but like I know what the issues are, especially as a vocalist and songwriter myself. So I set up a vocal agency, and I set up a choir that always talks about these artists, and I reached out to these artists, and when we cover their records, we go and find out who their publishers are, who wrote the song. We ask permission. You know, the reason we have a relationship with Crystal Waters and Barbara Tucker is because we went to them directly and just said, we love your song. This is why we exist, and thank you. The first is just saying thank you, right? To these people that I never thought in a million years I'd be able to speak to.
That must have been so amazing for them as well, I think.
Oh gosh,
I mean,
don't know.
Come on, like, I don't know, you know.
I hope so, because, and we've been really fortunate. I met Crystal Waters backstage at a festival here, and I couldn't resist the opportunity just to give her, like, I gave her one of our jackets and just said, like, please, just thank you. And so we're doing our bit to rectify some of that. And I'm not sure if you've seen any of our a cappella videos.
I browsed through the website when you sent me the information.
So that was, we started doing that because of lockdown. We couldn't get together and rehearse, so we figured out how to use this app and then use some editing software and then bounce the tracks back into Logic to get a good it's been a lot of work, and it wouldn't have been possible without my musical director and DJ. His name is Harrison, and he's incredible. So we basically figured out how to do this thing. And I think because of the tone of this year with Black Lives Matter and everything else that's been going on, all of the protests, the election in America,
it's been a lot.
It's been, and Corona. Just just for good measure, let's just add a pandemic on top of all of that. It was every week when we came to choose what song we wanted to cover, or like having this dream of working with a particular artist, being able to reach out to them and them say yes in this time was just mind-blowing, you know. And what we found very quickly is that there's all of these, and specifically Black female vocalists and songwriters. So we've worked with Ultranate, Crystal Waters, Beverly Knight.
Oh my God, legends.
Gosh, who else?
That's amazing.
Goodness me, my brain's gone blank. And then the ones we couldn't work with, like we did Carry On by Martha Wash, and we couldn't get in contact with her. But we made sure in the credits, in the caption, we talk about those people. We did Red Alert by Basement Jaxx, and make sure we reference the original vocalist, even though we got to work with Vula on that version. So there's just it's just like, we have to give these women their flowers whilst they're here, whilst they can still smell them, and just right some of those wrongs. And what we found actually is that people are really interested to know who sings these records. It was never an issue of whether people didn't care about who sings the song, who wrote the song. They do care. And we're watching like that, the when they repost the video as well, like people get excited about hearing a choir version of their favorite songs, and it's just been incredible. So I'm, like I said, like I'm solutions focused, and and on the days that I don't feel capable of finding a solution, I definitely sit here and cry. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been, can I swear?
Yeah, you can.
It's been fucking horrendous some days. Like, honestly, watching the news, seeing what's happening, feeling what's happening, identifying with what's happening, and just trying to continue to be a remedy to those things when and where we can. And it's not been easy, to galvanize, 25 members of a choir on a week where all we want to do is like sleep and probably cry a bit and figure out how we're going to pay our rent. We still found a way to get together and like try and just bring some light into the situation, and at the same time elevate those voices of those women and those men that have created this music that we love.
That's really a lot of things to juggle at the same time,
whilst finishing off the album and delivering that. And
but, I mean, that's all good stuff, but obviously with everything that's happened and this kind of like rude awakening, which I think is a good thing, but for the Black community, it's just all the pain and all the anger and all the injustice, and it's like it's all rushing out. And then I can imagine people like me and like white people probably asking many, many questions in times where you're like, please not now. Like, I want to rest, like I want to grieve. I want to be left at peace now. I can imagine. I mean, I had many of my friends, Black people who I reached out to and said, like, I'm just reaching out just to let you know that, like, I love you, and just like, if you want me to leave you alone, I'm totally cool with that, obviously. But just, you just want to ask if you're okay, at least.
And that's really powerful. I think that's one of the best things I found about this time, because at House Gospel Choir, obviously we're coming from a tradition of gospel music, which is in terms of that the canon. It's like, for me, lots of people ask, oh, how did you come up with the idea of house gospel? I'm like, I didn't come up with the idea. Gospel voices, gospel harmonies, gospel melodies have always been present in house music. And house music was created by the children of those people that went to church. Like, it's just, it's that simple. And that history, that lineage has just been obscured over time. Like, we're here in the UK and we get kind of the idea that dance music is David Guetta on one side in a modern sense, and
cis wild white male,
like 3 white guys that went to Ibiza and discovered this sound and brought it back to the UK, and it's bollocks, absolute bullshit. Like, music, house music, dance music, acid, all of that was being sold in Black record shops in the UK. Techno, everything, it was coming out of the Black communities, and it went back around. And there's no harm. It's a unifying sound, it's an uplifting music, it's for everybody. But what is the harm in, like, just telling the fucking truth about where it comes from, like, and being honest about that? And it really winds me up, that then we come full circle, and we have young Black musicians and songwriters and singers who are like, oh, I don't make house music, don't make dance music, that's white people's music. It's like, it's actually not. Like, the actual music is for everybody, but there's no, people aren't seeing the connection between the origins of it and where it is now. And that's not by accident,
That's so twisted too, that like young Black people today, I mean, it's so twisted that it has made such a circle through like white people culture, that even young Black people now don't even know.
And it's not by and large, young Black people have always been involved in dance music. Here we have jungle, we have drum and bass, we have dubstep. The lineage is all there. And for me, it, in a British context, it runs through sound system culture and MCs. And MCs on the mic, then it's an easy way to remove the color from it. Like, you remove the MC that is kind of spitting ragga lyrics and talking Cockney and just being that hype man. You take them away, and it immediately kind of, it could be anyone's music, and that's fine. But then people just kind of forgot what that lineage is, and so now we kind of just have the MCs over there doing grime, and then people kind of think that dance music is for white people. It's like, it's not. I mean, it's not. It's for everyone, but these are the originators. Like, just. And more to the point, London is such an amazing place to make music. Like, and this is no disrespect to anywhere else in the world. Like, it's just, I grew up with like drum and bass coming from my brother's room, Bros and Top of the Pops and Kylie Minogue coming from the front room, and then reggae and some Jim Reeves and country music coming out of my mum's space. So you're just standing in the middle, and you get all of this great music because we're British, and all of that combines to tell the story. But so often just the black bits are left out when it's time to tell the story. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you?
I don't know. Like I've wondered that many times, and like what everything you just said now about London. Like I lived in London for a little bit for that exact reason, because for me, like UK music culture is just love it. It's life for me.
Yeah. And you'll know when you went from being here, it's not really race specific. It's more like the area you come from. But you know, people wouldn't deny that grime, which comes out of East London, had black boys and white boys and black girls and white girls making that music. But the essence of it, an MC spitting into a mic, is from Jamaican sound system culture. The rhythms and the tempos being what they are come from house and techno and jungle. Like that's the journey. You can't discount that, you know. But yeah,
true. So I want to touch upon something that it's something that I heard through a radio DJ. His name is Peter Rosenberg. I don't know if you know him. And yeah, I saw an interview of him on Hot 97. And it's something that I found very interesting, and that has to do with, excuse me, cultural appropriation. And then specifically, like in this case, he was talking about, for example, why is it that, and he was talking about twerking, just to give an example. Why is it that white girls are being considered as quote unquote cute when they're twerking, and black girls, black women, women of color are labeled as slutty or even ratchet? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Why is that?
Why is that? If I'm honest, like just my gut reaction to that question is I don't care for the question, to just being like, because it's not true. It's like a false premise.
Right.
Like, I think it's true that the media presents us a certain way, and black women are hypersexualized, and you know, all of those things are true. And I think there are people that are more engaged in that side of the conversation that could answer that question on those terms far better than I ever could. So I won't try to, but I know the reality, which is I'm a black girl who twerks and winds up herself, and I love it. And I'm none of those things. So and I have white friends who twerk and wind up themselves alongside me, and we all go to carnival and we all get down. Like, so once you know the truth of a situation, you just do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like I said, I'm solutions focused. I'm not, so I can't even quantify that conversation, that question, in terms of my lived experience,
right?
Because I don't feel that way, you know. I understand cultural appropriation as opposed to appreciation, because black people we've had to try so hard to create our pockets of culture and be proud of them. So to watch people kind of denigrate that, and then elevate other people for doing it, it's a heartbreaking process. But the point I'm making is the pocket of culture we've created for ourselves is wonderful. It's so great. It's so beautiful. It's so vibrant, and it's ours. And I'm more concerned with protecting it. And if people want to copy it, I don't think it's a compliment just to copy it, personally, unless you're referencing where you got it from. And this is my whole point about the culture generally, is just reference things, just be honest about history, be honest about things' trajectory and how things come to be. And then I think the rest of us should get on with having a bloody good time, because even with all of this oppression, with all of the racism, all of the systemic abuse and the things that have happened over the years, and my family's from Jamaica, so the history of slavery, it is inescapable for me. It's the reason I'm this complexion, you know. It's with me every day. But beyond that, I look at what we've done with all of those things, and I'm like, yes, black people, let's get it. So I just want to celebrate the best of what we have, and I think that's what we're over here doing. So when people chat shit about what it is we're actually doing, oh, they're hypersexualizing, or they're chatting shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not they're chatting shit. Like, and I understand how those stereotypes are harmful, but they are stereotypes, and I'm over here twerking and winding up myself with my black friends and my white friends, and I'm having a great fucking time with my life. And so I think that people engaging in the conversation on that level is important, and they're doing an amazing job of doing that. And so I'll let them continue to do it. And they're fighting for me on that side. That's the way I see it. And I'll fight for them on this side, which is I'm just going to continue to be a representation of all that is good and great about our culture and our cultural legacy, even in the face of the lies and the rubbish and the stereotypes, you know?
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Sorry if I went.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really powerful. It's really, love it. Thank you for sharing that. So I want to move into an article that was published, I think it was in August this year. And I want to give a shout out to Jumi Akinfenwa, who wrote it. She's also from the UK. And she wrote about the Black female singers uncredited by the UK music industry. And so what she talked about was like, you know, how vocals, what you already said, like vocalists and songwriters feature on some of the biggest hits, like still even today in the UK music industry, but Black women are often not credited, and yeah, it leaves their solo career stunted, and it caused them also to lose out financially. So it has huge repercussions. Now, what I found interesting in this article, and this is where I want to move into colorism, is how one of the people in the article, who preferred to remain anonymous, said how she believed that because of colorism, so white or lighter skinned singers take space from darker skinned singers. And there's like this clear pattern with a lot of dance music where Black artists don't get as many opportunities or are just not mentioned like white or lighter skinned artists are. So I want to hear from you. Like, do you have any thoughts on this? Do you have anything that you want to share on that?
The observation is true. It's correct. It's happening still. And I think any more on that situation as it currently stands, you'd have to ask the white people that choose to market the music in that way. To me, it kind of comes down to what they think will sell. And I'm just like, what you think will sell? What is that based on? And if all of your ideas about the world or what will sell or what constitutes good music or good marketing is kind of based in weird stereotypes and
white,
just white ideals, or white ideas, or white, you know, racist values, that's why we get to this situation. So I think so far when we ask white execs why that happens, it's like, you know, I know what will sell, and there's a real laziness about that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, this worked last week and that record over there signed to XYZ sold 1 million copies, so we're going to do the same thing. They're all just following, but there is someone somewhere making that decision. I am not that person. So someone has to ask those execs and those guys and girls or women or, you know, labels or that part of the industry, why they make that decision time and time again, when it's not based on talent. It's not based on, I think it's just like their idea about what will sell, and their idea on what will sell is based in a really flawed system anyway. So
because they just project onto their own world, which is then in this case mostly white or lighter skins or whatever that will look like for them.
And then they just keep reproducing that over and over again because they've seen it sell before.
Well, it's really like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? If you keep marketing that and you're like, hey, it works, see, this works. It's like, can't you not see that this is a pattern that you created? And
exactly,
it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I think the more people that just say it doesn't make any sense, rather than just accepting it and asking those people that are making those decisions time and time again to explain themselves. And they get away with not explaining themselves, and then I get asked the question, like, I can't answer it. I'm not making this. The decision is stupid. It's flawed. It's not. And the proof is people love the sound of these women's voices. So what about them would they not love? If you, can appreciate that someone's effort and talent and skill and soul is inside a record, like why wouldn't you want to see that person? Like we're fans, you know, at the end of the day. So and just as an example, we have a you know, like X Factor or whatever, I think it's Britain's Got Talent, and we had a singer called Suzanne Boyle, who was like an older lady.
Yeah, I remember her.
Yeah,
oh my
not
gosh.
Glamorous, not anything like
Yeah.
like you would imagine a massive superstar should be, and she's gone on to do phenomenally well. People will, if you give them good things, they'll accept it in any package it comes in. So this idea that it has to be light or white and, you know, a certain height and a certain weight, it's
Or
just
young.
like, yeah, or young even, like that there's people like that, and there's a lot more, you know, and it's just kind of even sad that I have to draw for the example of Susan Boyle in a sea of, you know, amazing talent. So many other talents, like, but the proof is in the pudding. People love the story and they love the artist, and you've just got to give them that. So I don't know.
So no, it's definitely, like, I think it's interesting that you brought up Susan Boyle. I totally forgot about that, but very interesting example. How do you feel that, so what we just talked about, like, you know, like it's the people making the decisions and deciding not to put forth like really amazing artists, like Black artists, etc. How do you feel that this affects the confidence of these artists? Like, what does that, like, can you speak into that feeling? I feel like for people who are listening, it's important to understand that. I think it affects your self-esteem. I think
it affects your self-esteem and limits your options, like, of what you think you can achieve or what you're capable of doing. If you're not reflected, or you're not seen, or you don't see examples of success from people that look like you. I can say that even for myself as a woman, when we signed this record deal, we were encouraged to find a producer to work on these records with us, and so we made this long list of producers, and invariably they all ended up being men. And we worked really hard to try and find some female dance music producers, and then like the list started to grow a little bit with some females, and then we looked at the list again. It was like, oh, these are all white guys. And we're specifically trying to talk about house and gospel, and it doesn't exclude white men from producing any of these records, which it didn't. We've had some fabulous white male producers on the record, but my manager turned to me and said, well, what do you want this to sound like? And I explained it to her, and she's like, well, you produce it. And I was like, oh no, I'm not a producer. I'm a singer, I'm a manager, I'm all these other things that I've had to be to get this project to this stage. And she's like, no, what that is producing. So I had to go and understand what a producer was. And fundamentally, it's what I've been doing for the last 5 years preceding that, which is producing this show.
Awesome.
Picking the samples, choosing the arrangements, working with the team to make it the way I want it, and giving it to audiences and selling out shows. Like, I've been producing that, and now it was the time to put that onto a record. And fortunately, because of all the experience I've had over the years, I knew what that meant. I'm not scared of studios. I'm not afraid of talking to engineers. I'm not. And so I produced the album, and we went to specific people to give us what we needed, and I put the thing together, and that goes from the top of managing the budget to signing off mixes and getting the edits right. Like, it's a lot of work, but at the end of it, just from my manager saying to me, well, you're a producer, which I never saw myself as, because I just didn't have many examples, or I couldn't think of any at the time. I know more now, fortunately. And even finding out that Crystal Waters and Ultranate are producers in their own right. And then we have Cooley G, who I absolutely love. Like, there are Black female producers making dance music and making, you know, dance records and house records. So now I'm one of them. And that's
really good.
Yeah, it's a bit mental to me, but
that's good.
Yeah, it was out of necessity, and also just realizing that we have the skills, you just have to believe that you can do something. And I'm like, and she was like, who stopped any of these guys? I'm sure they just woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be a producer or a DJ. and then they got on with doing it. Is that not what you need to do? And I was like, oh yeah, maybe you make a point.
Yeah, but I do understand what you're saying about like if there's no examples really out. Yeah, I do understand that it makes it a lot harder for you to even be able to imagine what that could look like for you without having that. I imagine that's really. And so another question I want to ask you about this: what would your advice be to artists, or I would say people in general, like Black females in general, working in dance music, on how to cope with prejudice against skin color in dance music? Like what would your advice be to them?
Don't let it stop you, because
Yeah.
you have a right to be there. Your heritage is tied up in there, and it's for you to kind of wrestle it back and remind people, and forget people for a sec, just remind yourself and know for yourself that there's space for you in there, and it was there at its inception. You know, you're not having to carve out a new space. You're just saying, get out the way, guys. This bit's here, right? There are Black women, right? Exactly, right throughout this whole lineage.
Elbow your way through.
Right? The whole canon has amazing Black women that have been in here, and you've kind of just ignored them. And the whole canon has gospel within it, and it has great vocalists, and it has amazing songwriters. And you just like, I just feel like my job for the past 7, 8, 9 years even has been just pulling those threads out and showing them to people, like, oh, remember this, have you seen this before? And sometimes people are just like, oh, I didn't know that, or that's new to me. Most people are like, that's new to me. And that blows my mind a little bit still. But it is new to a lot of people because they've never heard it before, and people are open to real history. And that's the crux of where we find ourselves, unfortunately. It's just like the world's been created, the world as we've been taught it anyway, has been created in one image, and it's at best only part of the truth. At worst, it's an absolute lie. Do you know what I mean? So,
no, yeah, and most of us, like, and with us, I mean, white people, I mean, I'm not sure if I should speak for all white people, but I will anyway.
Yeah.
Most of us are just ignorant and are like, I'm sometimes surprised to see this myself, like within my close group of friends, or even like just on social media, how many white people have this really naive conversation around that, and how they are very much ready and willing to not be held responsible for stuff. Like, for example, saying we had this conversation now because it was the 11th of November. And so I don't know if you know this, but Belgium and the Congo, really ugly history.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things, thanks to this year with everything that's happened, thanks to Black Lives Matter, a lot of things also resurfaced here in Belgium.
Yeah.
And so there were things popping up on social media through Vice Belgium. And people who were saying like, oh yeah, we didn't notice. It was like about Congolese soldiers who also fought in the war. And that's something that we are not being taught in school, because that's a part of the history that they just leave out, right?
Yeah.
And so what they say, like, so many people say like, oh yeah, but how can you blame us, like this generation, for like not knowing this? Because we weren't taught this in schools. And I'm like, then fucking Google stuff. Reread your history. That's what I've been doing in the past year, is looking for new sources of information that are non-Belgian, because it's clear that they're leaving things out. But like, don't say like, oh, it's not my fault because I wasn't taught in school. That is so like naive and ignorant, and like the example of privilege. And you know, it's sometimes it baffles me to see this, and I even see this in a lot of my friends still, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. let's talk about this.
It's a decision, isn't it? Because no one wants to feel stupid. Like, people's like, the biggest thing is like, when you call someone ignorant, they still get really annoyed by it. Do you know what I mean?
It
is ignorant, and you now have an opportunity to learn. Like, as a Black woman, do you think my history was taught to me in school here? No flipping way. Almost everything I know about my culture and my history, and even from a Jamaican perspective, which was a Commonwealth country, and you know, like, we've had to find out ourselves. When I went on holiday with my family to Jamaica, I had to go and get Jamaican history books.
Mm-hmm.
And even then I had to find ones that weren't British leaning, you know, and I had to seek out information for myself. Why is anyone else exempt from that? And I think white people in, you know, you know, I will generalize in this, because we've had the same education as you. We've had to go away and do this work to feel this sense of ourselves, like to get a real sense of yourselves as white people. You got to go and do that work too. Like, you can't just trust your education system, or, you know, what your government, who is concerned, their main concern is nationalism and kind of uniting you guys against common enemies and stuff and all that shit. Like, you got to go and do the work. If you truly want enlightenment and you don't want to be stupid or ignorant, then you have to go and do that work. And when someone says to you, it's not your fault, and now at this point with this year you've had, like, if at the end of it your answer's still, you know, well, it's not my fault, it is your fault now. Like, genuinely, like, the resources are coming and they're there, and there's more on the way, and you have to help create them. So it will start becoming everyone's fault, because no one is blaming anyone for the, you know, what someone did 100 years ago. You specifically did not cut that person's hand off for stealing.
But that's not what anybody is saying
exactly
either, so that's the thing, like, that's what I see in my country happening so many times with white people, where they're like, especially like one of my best friends, like, if she's listening, I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell the story. But like, her mother was born in the Congo, so her mother is like one of those people who had to flee the Congo and then came back to Belgium. And so I can hear that my friend grew up with her mother just by the things that she's saying, and things that I really had to like ask her, like, where did you get this idea? Like, can you hear yourself talk? And can you like think about this and think about where you got this idea from? Because this is not right. Like, this is not the way you should think. And she always gets a little defensive when I address that, because she's like, yeah, but people always say that, you know, it's up to our generation to change this, but we didn't do anything, it's not our fault. And I'm like, well, nobody is saying that. It's the system, and it's the fact that racism is a white people problem, and it's the fact that I consider that to be part of my biggest responsibility in this lifetime, is to whenever I decide to have children, or even like my godson and my goddaughter, like, I don't want to have them to be able to, you know, to have to solve this problem. I want to start solving it. And I want them to be able to grow up in a world, and I know this sounds like really like idealistic, but in a world where it's already better in that sense. You know what I mean?
If that's idealistic, like, let it be idealistic. Like, why not have that ideal to have a world that is better? I don't think like racism is going to go away tomorrow, and those prejudices are going to be healed quickly.
Probably not, unfortunately.
And I think as well, like, even when you're talking about your friend, there is an element of that where I think she must know to some extent that there's comfort in where she is right now. And so you're trying to rock people out of their comfort, but in order for a system to stay the way it is, there has to be people benefiting from it. So I can't accept that people don't know that they're benefiting from it, that they're getting these privileges. And I can accept that they just might not want to give them up. And you know, like, and that's the biggest reason for me. I think all of the other stuff about, oh, it's not our fault, it's all deflection, isn't it, really? Because it's just like there's an awareness of the privilege at this point. Like, even if like people have been talking about white privilege for the last 5-6 years, it's been in the lexicon. Like, but then if in the last year, oh, did I cut out? Sorry. In the last year specifically, the year we've had, if you're still denying that is a real thing, it's willful and it's ignorant. And let's just be honest, like, there's enough resources for you to just read a thing very quickly,
read a book,
and then read a book, I don't know, read an article, talk to your friend, talk to a lead, you know, like there's people that know. And I don't think it's going to be easy to.
No, it's not. But like, I feel like, I think you hit on something really important when you said, you know, you're just, for example, I see that when I talk to my friends, it's not comfortable for them. They don't want that. But that's the thing, like,
But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It doesn't.
Yeah, and we get to say that because we're white. And that's the thing that they usually don't want to admit. We get to say like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'll just walk away. Yeah. But Black people don't get to say that.
Yeah.
Black people don't get to
uncomfortability to us, like it could mean death under certain circumstances. So but it is the way it is. And I hope that more people will just continue to learn. And it's hard, it just gets harder and harder to refute.
And what you said about continue to learn, like, I think the emphasis has to be on continue. Like, this should be like a lifelong commitment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So not just be like, I'll donate once to Black Lives Matter, or I'll buy this like anti-racist book.
Yeah.
And I'm cool. It's not like helping your local dog shelter with a little bit of food.
And I keep learning. I've learned so much this year as a Black woman. There's no, the learning doesn't stop for anybody. So for any human being that wants to be part of civil society to suggest that their learning has come to an end because they've decided it has, like, who the fuck are you, man? Like, you don't even deserve peace. Like, you're asking for a peaceful system. What have you done to contribute to that peace? So just shut up, or just go, do you know what I mean? Just go over there and be that, because we're not going to get rid of it having arguments with those people. We'll get rid of it by being diligent and continuing to learn.
Yeah, and doing it together with people who are in the same boat, right? Like,
definitely.
Their noses in the same direction.
Definitely. Yeah. And it just lead to better outcomes for everyone in the long run, 100%, because we're all here together. And if you've read any of my stuff, like, our thing is really, we are one. House Gospel Choir, because we're based in London, it is that, like, we have Black people, we have white people, we have Asian people, we have straight people, we have gay people, we have non-identifying people, we have like people that are still figuring things out, and we're all in the same space. Like, so there we are actually proof that we're all meant to share space. And I think as long as you have something to hold you together in a way, and just a space to keep growing and keep learning. And we don't always get on, we don't always agree, but fundamentally we're there to do something bigger than ourselves,
and that's okay too. Like,
it's how we grow. How we grow. I've had some really challenging members from time to time over the last 7 years. I
can imagine.
Really good conversations and learning curves for myself.
I can imagine.
And they serve to strengthen everything, and those are around questions about race and sexuality and gender and, sexism. All those things come up for us too. But if you're committed to being in a place together, like we are, if we can just commit to being in these countries together and on this earth together, we're going to work through these things,
and just really listen to each other,
right?
I feel really just listen and ask questions, and don't be such a like pussy about having the conversations. I feel
it's not that the conversation isn't going to kill you.
Exactly.
It might make you cry, it might make you feel sad, but you'll be fine after. And beyond that, like, white people that are dealing with this, they still have the choice afterwards to either do something about it or not, because we know the system as it exists benefits white people. So you don't even have to change necessarily, just have the conversation and see what happens.
I agree. I definitely agree. And that's definitely something I want to like specifically say to any white person out there who's listening, to just really just keep listening and keep asking questions and keep questioning things like, is this true? Is this, where is this coming from? Like, this is really a simple question that you can ask yourself whenever you see or hear discrimination happening. Like, ideally you do something about it, but at the very least, I hope they will just keep questioning things and get better at it. So to round up, one last question. When was the last time you did something for the first time?
Ooh. Oh gosh. How? In what context?
Okay. Okay.
Lockdown has been long and hard, right?
True. You could choose whatever you want to share.
Oh my gosh. The last time I did something for the first time. On the 23rd of October, just gone, I put out an album on Island Records for the first time.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Called, you don't know what other thing I was thinking about there. I was like, whoa, what am I going to say?
I think I have an idea, but maybe it's just me and my dirty mind. I don't know.
Like I said, lockdown has been long and hard. We put out an album, and it's our first one as House Gospel Choir, and I'm very proud of it.
Awesome.
And it's literally an hour and 6 minutes of joy. So if you're having like a shitty day or a shitty moment, like just pick a song at random, or if you do have an hour and 6 minutes, just listen through the whole thing, and hopefully it will help you feel a bit better for a time. It's called Required, because I feel like this feeling is required, you know, like with everything else going on, we still should have moments of joy and peace and happiness. And if you've got a song or a person or something that makes you feel that, then you should go for it. And so hopefully this album helps with that. That's the ambition.
Awesome. I think that's a lovely note to end on, and to everybody out there, go purchase it and support them.
Thank you.
Especially this year, I think.
It's been hard.
Appreciate it. So thank you so much, Natalie, for having
you so much, Aline.
With me. Really appreciate it.
No, so do I. I really do. I was very nervous, but you made it easy.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.